Hello, how are you?
Fine, sir. Fine.
Fine. Okay. Nonetheless, here is NANDAKRISHNA here. He ranked All India rank 61 in CLAT PG 2020, and he is from our regular course from Jurisedge. So today we are going to talk about various perspective aspects of journey, because it was so much struggle that we had to face as a student, as an institute. We both have to face a lot of things during the journey. So, Nandakrishna, I want to ask you one first question. That is, how was the question paper? What's your take on it regarding question paper?
This paper was really tough for me. I mean, yeah, it was really tough. So, and I didn't expect such a rank by after writing the exam, because it's really tough. It's not the way what I expected. I expected a lot more judgments from I prepared a list of judgments, expected judgments, landmark recent ones, especially regarding reservation, everything. But nothing was asked from that. And to be honest, only that Anuradha Basin case and Triple Talaq case was the one which was there in my list. So only that two questions were.
So in one sentence, we cannot expect CLAT anything, right? We cannot.
Yeah.
We have to study everything.
Yeah, even from reservation, there were several other judgments, which were many heated topics were there, but none of them was asked. Even journals, nothing were asked. Only some, horizontal, that reservation regarding.
That PWD reservation, that reservation. And that reservation was quite, there are a lot of important cases regarding reservation. That reservation is not that important to be asked in the question.
Nothing someone would, note down. It's
that particular.
And defection also, everyone expected a question from defection, anti-defection law, but nothing was.
Yes. As you know, we had a talk regarding anti-defection law, how it was important. A lot of cases were there. Even SC/ST Act, that particular thing was very important. But case Puttaswamy won the race, basically.
That actually, we thought that it was already asked in sample paper. So
sample paper, and again the mocks, they have asked the case Puttaswamy so many times, and again they asked the case Puttaswamy. And when the citation wala question, they asked the citation of the case Puttaswamy too this time.
No one would expect. So when I was doing this Jurisedge mocks and all, so when I was seeing this type of questions, such as the name of judges or the name of majority judgment, who wrote this majority judgment, so I was expecting such. CLAT won't ask such type of questions. I was expecting that with such weird questions. Why are even Jurisedge asking like this? I was thinking this way, but. CLAT exceeds my expectation. Everything.
Yeah, exactly. CLAT always exceeds everyone's expectation. So, Nandakrishna, basically, how did you prepare the judgments? That is very important, because we have done a lot of judgments.
Yes,
that we have done a lot of judgments in the classes and everything. How did you? What's your input regarding the judgments? Because we have done our part. Teachers have taught the judgments and everything. How did you manage the hundreds of judgments? Because at the end of the day, there are hundreds of judgments. We did the selective ones when we had hundreds of judgments, around 150, 200 judgments. Okay. How did you manage to do these things? Because at the moment, there are a lot of judgments. How did you manage all those things?
Sir, honestly speaking, I didn't go out of the box, and I only prepared those judgments that were listed out by Jurisedge. Like the classes, that some judgments were taken as classes, some other were given as summaries. So I only limited my studies into that, because I knew that I can't remember all these 200 judgments, and no one can. So what I did was I concentrated on those judgments that were taken as classes. 2 or 3 hour classes were there, and 2-3 classes were in Jurisedge with respect to only one judgment. So that was quite extensive. So I limited my studies into that judgments, and when I was revising, I repeatedly heard those classes again, because on live classes I may not get that much attention or concentration. So this was saved in the app. So I used to revise these judgments and prepare notes by hearing. So that helped a lot actually. Our doubts were cleared with respect to those type of those judgments. And for some other judgments which were for regarding commercial laws, arbitration, IBC and all. For those type of for those statutes, I prepared another list, and just the important ones, and I just knew the ratio about that judgments, and I just looked at what all judgments were referred in that judgment, and what questions can be asked. So I limited my studies up to only that. And for constitutional and criminal law, almost every almost every landmark judgments were extensively, comprehensively discussed by Jurisedge classes. So I used to revise that. I used to hear that, and I used to prepare notes. And for the last 1 week, I just go through the notes that I made by as revision. So that helped really helped a lot.
Notes are very important because at the end of the day, there are so many judgments. You can't go back to the 100-page judgment again and again. So that's so time consuming. You have to make notes, and the notes will help you throughout the time because while the revision. Yeah, that's very, very true. And so these changes and everything, how did you cope up? Because you enrolled before the changes happened in Jurisedge. I hope you remember that. How did you cope up with these changes? Basically, in the month of January, there are a lot of 7 subjects added. Then in the month of April, then again the syllabus pattern changed and everything changed. How did you cope up? What are the things? I mean, the mentally shift. How was it?
It's a really stressful phase for anyone. So even for you, sir, I can understand that, because when the first notification came out in January regarding the addition of certain more subjects, I was not that much panicked because I know there were time for 4 to 5 months left, so I can prepare accordingly. So I just managed to gather my textbooks which I used in my college regarding those additional subjects, and just to try to brush up my basics regarding that. And even Jurisedge classes were also modified. With respect to more classes were being taken with regard to that subject also, but so that was okay. But when the sample paper came out, I was just panicked. You would remember I called you that night. I was so panicked, so terrified. I even thought of dropping this.
Exactly. Lot of students thought of dropping, and you also know, NANDAKRISHNA, lot of students from Jurisedge also dropped the CLAT this year due to a lot of postponement. Yeah, so at that time the sample paper was quite shocking. After 28 days were left, April 12th was the date when the sample paper came, right? And we had the exam on May 10th. That time the exam was not postponed. Okay, so we had only 28 days for the exam, and we are seeing a whole lot of new judgments and everything. We have to do it for the next 28 days. That was quite shock. Yeah.
That's really shocking, and you boosted my confidence a great bit. That night you called me, you told me, you assured me that you will incorporate those changes and will modify the classes accordingly. You will give us the list of judgments. That's just confine your studies into that. That really helped a lot, because I have no idea how to list out these judgments because there were no syllabus anymore. Because if we knew that these 30, they mentioned 13 subjects in the website, but from the sample paper it was clear that the questions were not asked from any of these 13 subjects. It may be, but may not be. So there was no syllabus as such. There were only judgments. So the only thing we knew that question will be asked from judgments. So how to sort it out, I had no idea. So so the Jurisedge prepared a list, and I had an idea about what were the judgments and what are important, what are not important, and classes were taken, and the CLAT postponed a bit, not a bit, several times. So even that also helped. That actually was a problem. Continuous postponement was really a problem. It was like we have been exhausted by that time, but if CLAT was conducted in the month of May, I would really be in trouble.
Everyone will be in trouble, because within 28 days, we were talking about we have to read the judgments, we have to study the judgments, and reading 100 pages of judgment. And also remembering those judgments is also very important. They are not asking the basic questions from the judgment. They're asking very deep questions from that judgment. So you have to go through very well. You have to know all the basics clear. So after the sample paper, now the question paper is totally different. What you are going to say? What you are going to say for the 2021 batch now?
Nothing. I just have we cannot expect anything from the CLAT. They may even go to their previous years. We cannot know. They may change their syllabus again and need to go back to those conventional type of exams, because now what happened was those who prepare for CLAT exam, they have to confine their studies only for CLAT, and they cannot score well in any other conventional like ALET, BHU, DU, anything, because the questions are exactly different. So we cannot score we cannot score good marks in both the kinds of exams. So if you are going to study for CLAT, then you have to confine your study only for that. So that even that became a motivation for me, because I knew that if I'm not going to crack CLAT, I'm not getting anywhere because I cannot study for anything else if I'm studying for CLAT, because we have to read this much judgments, analyze it, and to know the jurisprudence behind it. So the other conventional exams are totally different. We just know you just have to know the law. You just have to do multiple MCQs regarding that. But CLAT is not at all like that. There are no previous sample paper, no previous question paper to do MCQs. It is totally different.
So, NANDAKRISHNA, you totally focused on only one thing, that is CLAT.
Yeah.
Okay. So, will you suggest that only focus on one thing? Either you are going for IELTS PG, focus on that, or either you're going for or IELTS PG, BHU, IIT Kharagpur, all those exams, focus on those exams because they have a similar set of questions pattern. Okay. Because CLAT has a totally different pattern altogether. So, what do you suggest? Because you have cracked it this year. You are going to suggest it for either you are going for IELTS PG, BHU, IIT Kharagpur, and other exams like ILI, or go for only CLAT and focus on the CLAT and give everything to the CLAT. What will you suggest?
Sir, I cannot say that anymore because what was actually asked in the sample question, actually asked in the original, that the CLAT question paper 2020, it was drastically different from what the sample papers. It was not solely based on judgments. It had several questions from general law. You know, even for international law, crimes and all, IPC and all the questions were general, nothing but from judgments. So we cannot say, because I cannot say I actually regretted for preparing for other exams or for strengthening my basics. I cannot say that because that helped me a lot actually in the original exam. Even the sample paper was different. So I cannot say that anymore because we'll have to take a balanced approach, you know, studying both. So first you have to make your basics correct. That's most important for any exams or even for your future. So you have to keep your basics correct. So first 3 to 4 months you have to dedicate for itself, I would say. At the same time, you have to just keep yourself updated with the recent happenings and recent judgments, because we cannot say even CLAT will ask only from judgments, because CLAT has asked from various other general subjects and general questions were also there, even labor law, and various several general questions were there. So I cannot, keeping your basics with respect to all subjects is necessary. And also I cannot say that I have cleared IIT Kharagpur also. So that thing, I haven't actually prepared for that type of questions at all. But when you prepare for CLAT, when you read judgments, you will get lot of basics also. We just not have to make time for studying solely the basics, because when we read judgments, we will read the discussions about various laws and how it changed and everything by the discussion of judges. We can understand a lot of basics from reading judgment itself also. So you can easily find a balanced approach, because from when you start from 1 year before, you can easily find time to incorporate both into your studies.
Yeah. So what you are saying basically, now reading and studying for CLAT basically will help you for other exams as well, because CLAT standard is so high, because you are going to go for the judgments, and after seeing your 2020 question paper, 2021 batch will definitely go for the basics as well.
Yeah.
Right. After seeing the sample paper, we thought, even you thought and we thought as an institute, that they are asking for the recent judgments only. But now after seeing the question paper, we are changing now. Basics are equally important. We thought it, we told you many times. I also told you to go for the basics, read the revision karo. Yeah. But somehow CLAT pattern is so high. If anyone is going for CLAT, automatically they are preparing for other BHU, IIT Kharagpur, everything. They will clear the exams like this exam. So that's true. So NANDAKRISHNA, another very important thing is that if you are going to take the exam, I asked this question to Sahil also. If you want to prepare again for the CLAT, okay, again for 2021, suppose for PSU, okay, what you are going to do it, how you are going to change the things, because now you know it, because down the time in the month of January you knew that these changes have been incorporated. These are the 7 subjects I want to study. Now you're going to start it from now on. What are the changes that you are going to make from now on? How you're going to approach the whole exam altogether with 7 subjects, recent judgments and everything?
Sir, I think I will try myself to get updated with all the recent happenings in a more comprehensive manner, because we were doing it earlier also in Jurisedge. In every week there was a homework given regarding recent subjects, but that was not in that depth. We were just studying.
It's for the subjective part. It's for the subjective part.
Yeah, it was only for the subjective part, and not for we have even for Futsami case and all. We have done it as a homework. So because of that, I was able to answer two to three questions in the sample paper when it was released, because the sample paper was in so depth, but still there will be 2 to 3 questions that can be answered by just knowing the ratio of the judgment. So that was there. But from now on, what you have to do is you have to analyze those recent happenings in a very deep manner, because the questions are asked are of that standard, So we cannot just pass the exam by just knowing the ratio of those judgments. We need to go very deeply. We need to go. We need to know its jurisprudence. So that is the most important change that I would bring about in my strategy if I were to write 2021 exam. And along with it, I need to do mock tests as well. So I was a bit lazy on it, to be honest, for the previous year. So I would start it from now onwards if I need to appear for 2021, because certain questions, they will just record in our mind. We don't any have to think much. If you see the questions, if you do mocks again and again, some questions will just be recorded as such in our mind. So we just don't have to think much about it. We can just answer it. So that really helps for other LLM exams.
Like ILET. Right.
Yeah.
I hope you remember the open mock. There are partnerships questions. They are directly from the open mock, right?
Yeah.
Like the 4 or 5 questions. Some people, students are saying, "Sir, these questions were same. That these questions are same directly in the ILET PG." Yeah. That's true. So, and now what about the constitution? I mean, constitution is very important now, NANDAKRISHNA. You know it.
Yeah.
So, how are you going to approach the constitution this year? Constitution were important in 2019 too. You started the constitution. Now, how you're going to approach? How many hours you're going to put for constitution for this year preparation if you're going to do it?
Sir, for the previous year also, constitution was the subject for which I dedicate most of my time. I initially began my preparation by studying constitution itself. It's very, I just covered all the basics from my book itself for the first instance, from the book which I used to study my college exams. So I used that same book, and constitution is a kind of subject which we study, which we delve into again and again. We find new areas which we have no idea about it, where doctrines, new type of interpretations, everything. So constitution is never over. How much if you study for 1 year, 2 years, it's not there will be still a lot left to study in constitution. So what really helped me is the quality of teachers that Jurisedge provided. So when we listen to their classes and their discussions, their interpretation, we get enlightened more and more about different areas in constitution. So constitution is a subject for just knowing the sections and articles, what article says what, that's pretty much simple for anyone. But to go in depth, we need an assistance of someone who has great knowledge about the subject. So that's really well, that's what Jurisedge provided us with. So that really also helped a lot. And also the judgments, we can understand constitution in depth only by reading judgments, because there are several landmark, very quality judgments are there by different judges. So when we read the judgments only, we can really get to know the jurisprudence behind that section or that articles, everything.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Now, this is the constitution part, NANDAKRISHNA. What about the jurisprudence? Jurisprudence, I hope you didn't think that there are two, three jurisprudence questions that will be there in the exam. And even the analysis-based question like Hoppedian theory that was asked. Okay. So, how you're going to explain the jurisprudence situation now? I mean, jurisprudence now getting much attention also.
Yeah. I just understood that you cannot avoid jurisprudence anyhow. Because you need to know, because in almost every competitive examinations, regarding law, jurisprudence is a must know subject. So what I did was, I didn't completely ignore. I cannot say that, because even after the CLAT, change the pattern. I was at certain point of time, I was going on through that decoding jurisprudence book that were available in the mock
updated one, right?
Updated one available in the mock hub. So I was going through it, and I was also doing some mock tests. That is the conventional mock tests that were there. Around 50 of mock tests were available. So when I get bored reading the judgments, I used to simply do the mock test. So by doing the mock test and reviewing the answers itself, we get to know several answers about jurisprudence. And for jurisprudence, memory is the key. There is nothing more. We cannot, there is no other way. You have to, revise it again and again. So jurisprudence is that kind of subject. It's pure theory, and there's no secret or no strategy to learn any other. You just have to keep yourself updated again and again. because you will easily forget if you don't revise it again and again. So that's the kind of strategy that is needed for studying jurisprudence.
Yeah, that's true. You have to keep on revising the things for jurisprudence, otherwise you are going to forget it. Now, another very important thing, Nandakrishna, that is the comprehension based question itself. Because now I hope you also remember that a lot of students are saying, okay, some of the questions have been left, we couldn't answer it because we had to read the comprehensions again and again, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times to find out the answers. Even especially for the jurisprudence questions, the answers were from you have to read between the lines of the comprehensions. How did you tackle those things?
Sir, initially when the NLS Bangalore conducted another, NLAT was conducted as a separate test. So I attended that NLAT, and one passage was from jurisprudence.
Yeah.
So at that point of time, I guess that CLAT may also ask the same way, because they have never said they have avoided jurisprudence from their subject. So we may expect a question from jurisprudence, and that question can be answered only by reading the judgments. So I already anticipated that, and what I did was I didn't waste time. Simply waste time on other questions that were there from the judgments, because even if they were based on judgments, we could answer most of the questions without even reading the judgments, and only for that questions that needed a revision, I go through that excerpts from the judgment. So I knew that I needed time for attending a jurisprudence question, and I was expecting one somewhere in the question paper. So that's what I did. So I completed my questions with respect to other judgments, or that can be answered without even reading the judgment. So I finished those questions easily, and then I moved on to jurisprudence part. I actually did the jurisprudence part after completing all the other questions. I had still around 40 minutes left. So I kept the jurisprudence part for the final 40 minutes, and I comprehensively had gone through both these paragraphs, and even that paragraphs, that were not general jurisprudence questions. We could only answer by reading the paragraph. I mean, in in-depth reading was necessary to answer those questions. Even if it was Hofield, it was not really asked. It was not really what is the opposite of power, what is the opposite of disability. No such type questions were there. The questions was only based on the paragraph, and we could answer only by reading the paragraph. So that's what I did with respect to jurisprudence, both the questions.
Okay, so you were saying you have to be fast and while reading, and you have to read thoroughly regarding that, and also you have to keep time for this kind of questions. Otherwise you have to read 3-4 times or 5 times to find out the answers.
Yeah.
If you don't have the time, you can't be able to answer. And also very important thing, I hope if you will be able to read the comprehension 4-5 times, the probability is higher to getting the questions correct also, because if you read more, the questions will be higher. I mean, the questions will be correct also, isn't it?
Yeah. So what is needed is you have to find out which questions, which type of questions you can answer without reading the passage. There are several questions. Trust me, there were several questions in the question paper that can be answered just by our knowledge. For example, in the Anuradha Bhasin passage, in most of the questions, we could answer without even reading the judgments, because we have prepared in that way. Even Anuradha Bhasin could prepare like anyone, because the statute that were asked, or some provisions or sections, so that can be answered without even reading the passage, because we have prepared in that manner. And so you just don't have to waste your time for such type of questions, and you have to allocate great enough time for jurisprudence questions, which can be answered only by reading the paragraphs.
Yeah. So another very important thing, what about the other law subjects, Nandakrishna, now? I mean, jurisprudence constitutions are okay. Now, what about other law subjects? Because there is no limitation. There are subjects, even the labor law has been asked. We didn't think that labor law will be asked. No, labor law has been asked. Yeah. Muslim law has been asked. International law has been asked.
Yeah.
So all those subjects, and you never know, next time tax law might be asked too. Company law might be asked too, right? So how did you tackle these other law subjects basically, and how you're going to suggest 2020 batch how they are going to tackle these other law subjects, because there are 12-13 subjects. Even arbitration law was there in the sample paper.
Yeah. So with respect to other laws, with respect to the 4 other law subjects that were earlier there in the syllabus, for that I prepared. I have already prepared that 6 subjects in total, including constitution and jurisprudence. So I have prepared that a bit, including contract, tort, public international law. Those subjects were there earlier also. So before January itself, I have prepared those subjects basic in a basic sense. So what helped me really is that when the subject when other and another around 6 subjects were added by notification in January. So there were classes regarding that subjects as well, like labor law and everything. So that I used to make note of all those classes that I were able to attempt. So before the CLAT exam, I have just gone through that notes. I missed certain areas. Definitely, I missed certain areas, but still, I were to manage general idea about those subjects, everything. So there were you cannot you are not supposed to know all these 13 subjects exceptionally well. There may be weak points. I had transfer property and taxation as my weak subjects. I didn't study them very much, but unfortunately they were not asked in the CLAT. But labor law, I like labor law, but I was not expecting such a kind of question from labor law, because I was expecting a question from the recent code of pages. So I was expecting question from there, but that were never asked. But a question from Industrial Disputes Act were asked. So we cannot expect anything from this CLAT. So what helped me there was those classes I attended, and those notes which I used to prepare for that.
So what you are going to suggest? I mean, you are suggesting that don't go in depth of all the subjects, but the previous 7 subjects are very important, which were there in the 2019 syllabus. Those subjects you have to do very thoroughly. Yeah. The newly added subjects like the Muslim law, family law, even the property law, whatever the most important subjects, you can do it whatever according to your strength.
Yeah, I mean, everyone may have some interest, certain subjects. For me, I was like environment and your family law with regard to marriage, then labor law. So these all subjects I was interested in, and administrative law. So I was a bit interested in all these subjects, so I could manage these subjects without much problem. And for other subjects which are tough for you, basically regarding tax, property. So in my case, these were subjects which are tough. So in those cases, I will just go through the basics and not dwell much into it, because even if a question were asked from a judgment from that subjects, there were 10 questions, there will be 10 questions, and you can at least answer 2 to 3 if you are sure about it. So that's what I expected for those kind of subjects. And with respect to the commercial law subjects such as arbitration or insolvency and negotiable instruments, like several new subjects came into the purview of CLAT after the notification and after the sample paper. So with respect to that subjects, you cannot study if you haven't studied it in your degree. You cannot study it all, within a span of 1 month. It's very difficult for everyone.
For you people, it was there. You had only 1 month, even 1 month. Okay. Yeah. So for these people, they have the time. They might have studied, started studying those subjects. That's true. That's what you say.
So I just confined my studies into those recent judgments with regard to their subjects and the area which were discussed in the judgments, and which is the heated topic nowadays. So I just try to find out those specific areas and confine my studies to those areas. Right? I haven't studied those acts comprehensively, like arbitration or IBC. I haven't gone through that act comprehensively. I just studied specific topics that in which amendments were brought in the previous 2 to 3 years, or any major landmark judgments were pronounced. So I only studied that particular part of those subjects.
That's true. Okay. Now another very important part for 2020, subjective part has been scrapped. Yeah. So subjective part was not there. Though we have prepared very thoroughly regarding the subjective part, that was very, very disadvantage to all the Jurisedge students. Whoever with us, they know how disadvantage to us that was scrapped. But how a 2021 student are going to manage this particular question that they have put up with the subjective questions they have to write? Because 2 hours you have to write 2 answers, and you have to manage 100 questions, 100 comprehension questions to be answered within 1 hour, probably 1 hour, 1 hour, 10 minutes. So how can they manage the time in the exam?
I must say that will definitely be a daunting task for anyone to do, because that level of questions that were asked, that were not simple. You just cannot answer from your mind. You will have to know the subject very well. choose two questions, and only you can be able to answer that questions, and there is no time for thinking at all. That's the main problem, because the time constraints are there. There is no time for thinking and then writing. We have to do it spontaneously, so very thorough preparation should be there for it. Actually, we have actually the criteria that the Jurisedge is following right now is perfectly fine, I suppose. So those weekly tests and writing, that will definitely help a lot, because that the structure we get, that will we generate that only through writing again and again. So that first jurisprudence, yes, sir knows that very well, I don't have to tell you. So because that I in at the primary instance, I don't have any idea about this. When you tell me to write a comprehension, I would just write a comprehension. I didn't know any structure or nothing, but I only get to know that through your that videos and those instructions you were giving in Jurisedge. I go to know the structure and what the significance of writing jurisprudence behind any answer, even if the question is just based on some statute or some judgments. Even then you have to find jurisprudence behind it, and to structure your answer, like the statutory provisions, judicial pronouncements in that area, then conclusion, recommendation. So that structure is very important, and I would suggest, I like to tell that really give a competitive edge for your answer over anyone. Yeah, that's really important. So writing constantly, at least once in a week, that really helps a lot.
So how's the NLAT? I mean, what was the score, NANDAKRISHNA, in your NLAT exam?
Oh, I don't think that's good. I got around 34.5 or something.
34.5. Okay. But how was the overall experience regarding the NLAT? I mean, it was all of a sudden shock.
It was really disappointing. No one expected such a move from NLS Bangalore. So anyone who writes CLAT, we are dreaming of any PSC job or NLS or NALS or anything. So one option is just taken away from us through that NLAT, and that even affects the CLAT aspirants also, because number of seats get reduced. So it is total mess. And thankfully it got quashed by Supreme Court.
Definitely. I mean, the NLAT thing that took away around 10 to 12 days more. From 3 to 15, the people were too busy about the NLAT, whether it will be counted. NLS, one of the best option, one of the best colleges gone from my hand. Yeah. Okay, so a lot of students are dropping the CLAT, thinking of dropping the CLAT. NLS is gone. That was my one of the most important target. So that is. So any particular tip that you want to share for 2021 batch after your experience in 2020, basically?
Yeah, I mean, consistency is the key, really. For basics, so for strengthening your basics, that's absolutely important. That's absolutely necessary. So you will have to, for whatever may be the pattern of CLAT exam next year, basics is must. Because we cannot say what they ask. That's clear from the this year's question paper. So actually, when I used to do Jurisedge mocks at the later point of time, so I was wondering why they are still asking, basics, because without a paragraph, I always used to wonder why they ask such things, because the CLAT has made it clear.
It has happened. Yeah, it has changed. Yeah.
Yeah, they will only ask from judgments. Then why are you still asking 60? But I really got to know the importance of it when I actually wrote the exam. So basis always plays a great role, whichever exam it will be. So you don't have to regret if you study basics, or you are not wasting your time. So that's what I felt after writing CLAT, because it's going to help you anyway in any exams in future. Basics are going to help you. So at the same time, you have to get yourself updated with all the recent judgments that is happening, all the recent happenings, all the amendments that are taking place. So 2019 was a eventful year. So there was a lot of happenings in that year. So we need to go through a lot of that things. And I must say that 2021 aspirants also have to expect those questions, because they are not confining their questions to one particular year, because previous 3 to 4 years or even 5 years are absolutely important for an aspirant. Yeah. So it's a tough task, but you can easily do it, because it's the same for everyone. So consistency and hard work, you can crack it easily.
Can crack it. So how was your experience with Jurisedge, with us?
Yeah,
because you were there for a long time.
Yes, sir, I was there till August or September. Yeah, and from there, I used to attend every class. I never used to miss that video lectures. I may not be attentive, but I never used to miss any of those classes. And I also have done a lot of mocks that were provided in the Jurisedge mock hub. So that mock test, there we can see the ranks of, very, even the previous students who have taken the previous year aspirants, we can compare our ranks, and we can actually know where we stand. So even that mock test really help a lot, and the materials they provide was actually quite helpful, because I never anticipated that all the changes incorporated will be incorporating in Jurisedge mock hub also, because it was done in a very speedy manner. Even just after 2 to 3 weeks after the sample paper was released, almost all the materials for preparing those type of questions were updated in Jurisedge mock hub, and even the basics regarding the other 13 subjects. When the first notification came out, the only 6 subjects were there till then in the mock-up, but suddenly within a span of at 1 month or anything, so all the other subjects were also updated. So that all really helped. So Jurisedge is truly satisfying experience for me. And thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir, for your support throughout the journey.
Yeah, definitely. So you are going to analyst, definitely. You are taking the business law, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. Business law.
Okay. So, and after that, you are going for corporate job or academics?
I haven't made up my mind yet, but I will definitely look for placements, or to get into the corporate sector, because I don't actually pretty much like academic or research work. So I would like to get a job somehow. That's what I will be looking.
So job, academics, or anything, whatever you think, like, right?
Job or litigation even, but I don't like academics. That's all.
Oh, you don't like academics, so that's okay. So you are going to go for jobs. Thank you very much. So any other questions that you want to ask me? Any other?
No, nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a very wonderful insight that you have given for the CLAT 2020 experience and whatever you have taken. Thank you very much. All the best for your successes in the future. Okay. And thank you.